Hi, here on Garden and Farm with Nola. My project today is planting tomato seeds. First of all, if you think you're a failure as a gardener, go and buy yourself some really good premium seed raising mix. It's already prepared. It has got its pH right, trace elements right, everything's right about it. The fertilisers, it's all perfect. However, as I do quite a lot of gardening, I don't like to spend my money on buying supplies, so I like to recycle and reuse. So I've actually made up a bit of a mix here for myself. Basically it's got some compost in it, a little bit of potting mix, and what I'm going to do is just spread that around. When I buy seedlings, I like to take home the tray as well. These are so wonderfully useful. What you can do is use them for a sieve. They often come in different sizes. This one's quite fine, and this one's got larger holes. So anyway, what I'm going to do is use the large one for my sieve. You can actually get proper sieves that are fantastic if you're going to do really large amounts. But one of these, a colander, anything will do really. So this one I'm going to just shake a bit of fine stuff through. Just going to shake a fine stuff through to get a little bit on top of my very tiny seeds. And then the bottom can be used for roughage. I'm just going to pop that in the bottom of my tray, spread it around, just chuck any yucky bits out, and I'm just going to put another layer in. And we don't want to go right up to the top, so I'm just sort of, there we go. And another little trick I can show you, just push it out to the edges so it's nice and flat. It's relatively important that it is flat, because when you water it, if it's on an angle or you've got lumps and bumps, you will actually have the seed shift and move, and that's no good. You might end up with everything in one pile. This is a great way to press the soil down. Some people make boards and all sorts of things, but that's done really well. I'm just going to go the other way so it's got a more even pattern. And I can use this mix. But I'm going to cheat today. I'm actually going to use a bit of this, because the thing with making up your own mix is you're going to have possibly maybe some funguses and things like that. You're also quite likely to have some weed seeds or little challenges like that, whereas this is quite sterile. There won't be any of those challenges. I've got my trusty little container, which I'll tell you about that another day. This is my things I'm working on right now container. I've got 3 tomatoes I'm planning to sow today. First one, this one I collected off a very dear friend, my friend Ada, in 2007. So this is actually quite old. And it's important, the fresher the seed, the more successful you'll be. And the fact that I've written that date on there will help me know if they fail, that's why they failed. I've also got some other seeds in here, but this one I just collected last year. This one is also one that's being passed on from neighbour to neighbour. So they should be nice and fresh. I just squeezed out the pulp onto the paper towel, and now I'll just go along, collect all the little bits of seed, just pop them off. If you get a bit of paper towel with it, it doesn't matter. They'll break down. It's just really just a little piece of wood. If you end up with seeds everywhere, all through your fingers and everything, well, first of all, do any moving over a white sheet of paper so you won't lose them, and just cup them into your next palm of your hand. Just give them a shake, and just back again. And now see, they're all out of my fingers and just into the palm of my hand, ready for planting. That's a really good little tip. I'm just going to move these over and once again plant away. Okay, I just got a little trick for you. I'm going to move this up to become part of my line. Also, if I drop a seed, it's not going to disappear into the soil. It will actually just be in this little bit that's exposed. Just going to pop those icy pole sticks down, and then I'm just going to start placing the seeds one by one along in a line. For this particular one, I'm going to do them about 1 inch apart for those that are inches, and about 2 centimetres apart for those that aren't. So just roughly, doesn't have to be exact. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover these guys up. It's a bit windy and they just might disappear, so we're just going to put a very thin layer over the top. Okay, and then I'm going to just pat them down. A little bit of rubbish there, and there we have it. That's the first row done. It's very important to label, and I always suggest label as you go, because by the time you put down 3 or 4 or 5 rows, you might not remember what's what. And if you've got a small tomato, and you might put it where the large tomato goes and vice versa. So label straight away as you go. I like to put the date on. I think that's very important. Also, that way you know whether the seeds have not come up or not. You don't want to be waiting for months and months thinking it's only weeks and weeks. And also what it is. So I'm just going to label this with the neighbour's name, and that it's a tomato. I'm just going to pop that in the start of the row. Then I'm going to start on the next row. I've got some little cherry type tomatoes here. I'm just going to go along and plant them out as well. Now, I've saved these seeds, but you need to be a little bit careful that lots of plants are protected by plant breeders' rights, or some of them are actually patented for their genetic structure. That's my piece of paper so I don't spill seeds everywhere. And I'm just going to put in another row. Doesn't have to be exact. So anyway, it is actually illegal to collect and grow someone else's plants. So I will do a video about that one day and just sort of inform you. But for the moment, just collect heirloom type varieties are usually quite safe. These are the seeds from Ada. These are actually 6 years old, we worked out. Sadly, Ada's passed on. But by saving seeds, it's kind of almost a legacy. And these are absolutely delicious tomatoes. But because they're 6 years old, I'm really hoping that I'll be able to get some to grow. And if you want to find out whether they do or not, you'll have to keep tuning into my videos, because I'll tell you. Anyway, some of these are a bit clustered together, but and as you transplant, you can move them apart anyway. You might have had other ideas about how you were going to do the tomato plants, and there really is no wrong way. I've got some little cell trays here that I've saved from some punnets of seeds I've got. Also got more of these. You can use those, just recycle them. But if you want to keep your tomatoes and just plant them directly out into the garden, you might want to go for an option like these guys. They're forestry tubes, and you can actually grow your tomatoes in these for quite a while and actually get quite large plants. And the plants will drive the roots down, and you can have a really strong, ready to go straight out in the garden planting those. Same thing, just slightly smaller version. Also, you might not have pots. Toilet rolls, fantastic. Actually, these are really good for not just tomatoes, but things like corn and peas that really hate to be moved. If you grow them in this, then you can plant the whole tube just straight into the soil, and they'll continue to grow at the bottom, and the actual toilet roll will rot away. So they're perfect for plants that hate to be moved. It's quite sad when you see little corn in tiny trays like that, because you know when the people break them apart and plant them, they're actually going to set them back by many weeks. If you don't have toilet rolls even, just a round piece of cardboard, a bit of elastic, or even just poke them in together. So you can have all sorts of options. I might be taking companion planting a little bit far, but I'm going to plant basil in with my tomatoes. I've got an extra spot, so rather than just waste it, I'm going to fill it up. This is a way some of the seeds are actually all attached to paper, and they're all spaced out, so you just pop those down, cover them up, spread that around a little bit. Makes it nice and easy, you don't have to worry about disturbing the seeds. Okay, pat that down. Got my label ready to go, and now it's ready for watering. Another way you can do is if you can take these inside and just have a read and know what's going on, or just simply pop them there too, and then it's there ready to go. Just be careful that they don't get blown away from the wind. But I'm not worried about that, because we're going to put this in our little mini hothouse that we made on another YouTube video, which you can go and have a look at if you'd like. So I'm just going to water these. I'm actually going to water it here on the bench so you can see what I'm doing. Now this is just a smidge uneven, so I'm just going to pop it up a little bit. Because I really want it to be very flat and level for watering, because if it's on a slope, what will tend to happen is all the seeds in the soil will shift, and it might actually move them, and in extreme cases you can end up with all the seeds in a pile in the corner. Now I've got a fine rose on the end of this watering can, so I'm going to get the flow going first so I don't end up dribbling all over the seeds. So we're just going to get the flow happening, and then I'm just going to actually move out and let it keep soaking in. If you keep the water on, you're more likely to get puddling, and you don't want that. If you get puddling, it tends to make the seeds move and shift. You really want to get them nice and wet, but without having any kind of risk of them moving around. Now this is our mini hothouse that we built. We've got tomatoes in here and strawberries. They're growing along quite well. I'm actually storing some little punnets in here too that are waiting for planting out a bit later. And so to be a really good, nice warm spot, I'm just going to pop these in. I've levelled out some soil, so once again the seed tray is sitting absolutely flat, because when I water it I don't want that movement that I talked about before. I'm going to check these every couple of days. It's very important that you don't let the top dry out. If the top dries out after the seed has swollen, the seed's going to suck up the water and actually swell and become active. Now if you let that dry out after it's swollen, basically that's the end of the seed. It's started to become viable, and then if you let it dry out, pretty much it's dead. So make sure you keep a good eye on it, regularly check. If it's hot, check a lot. If it's wet, don't be deceived, because it can get really hot in these things. So we're going to cover it up and keep you in tune. If you enjoyed this, push the like button and just pass it on to your friends, and good luck with your tomatoes.